Faye and Sadie. And yeah, I might have just spoken too soon. This is Creation Talk with Ryan, Faye, and Sadie. And we are Access Consciousness facilitators. We like each other, hanging out together. We had some fun times in Costa Rica, having lots of great conversations. So we thought we'd do a Google Hangout all about creation. And who knows where we'll go today. We may just be all over the place, and sometimes that's more fun anyway. So welcome if you're watching. Faye and Ryan, do you guys want to go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Faye Thompson. I'm a certified facilitator with Access Consciousness and a licensed spiritual health coach. I'm based in Saskatchewan, Canada, and I am crazy about creation and looking forward to talking to these two amazing people who...
Uh-oh. I think we lost Faye. All right, Ryan's turn. Go, Ryan.
Yeah. Hi guys, my name's Ryan Telford and I'm also an Access Consciousness certified facilitator based out of Cairns, Australia, and I just love creation as well and looking to explore what we all know about it and what we can actually expand from that. So pretty excited about this conversation myself.
Yeah. Cool. One of the things that we were talking about was so many conversations that I've been having lately with other people, other facilitators. It seems to, this whole topic of creation, even though it's so broad, it seems to be kind of the buzz talk lately, for me especially. And one of the things I was aware of a few weeks ago was some of the stuff that was interesting that I had created with my body, capacities that my body has that I hadn't acknowledged before that point. And so it was looking at how do I actually use that to my advantage without having to bring it into the dense version of conceptualizing it. And so to kind of add on that, Ryan and I had been talking before that about this capacity that he has to be able to have jewelry show up in his life and to create money with ease, and Faye creates business and clients with ease. So we were looking at together was, what do we know about creation that if we all kind of got together and talked about it, that could contribute to you guys who are watching and then expand whatever you're creating as well. So, so Faye, you kind of cut out earlier when you were talking. We know you're from Saskatoon, and then what else?
Oh, I was just saying, what magic might we create? Because I'm so excited to be chatting with these two amazing creators. I almost fell off my chair here. It's a little bouncy. How can we rock our...
That would have been an interesting creation, for sure.
Oh, man. Yes, and hopefully the technology holds out. My screen did freeze for a moment, but it came back.
Yeah, technical difficulties seem to be prevalent, so we just roll with it anyway. Ryan is in his car because he was having technical difficulties. Ryan, will you tell us a little bit about what you became aware of the last few months with regard to creating ease with wealth and things like having jewelry show up in your life and what you started to notice with that?
And, whoa, I just got a little bit of a download just then as you actually asked that. I was like, whoa, what was it? And as soon as I went to that actual question, what was it, I actually got the awareness, so it was cool. It's because it was something that I actually really enjoy. I have so much, it's like that need and tug that's talked about in Access, and also like the old way they used to talk about it, which was lust and pull. And I have so much lust for it, like it's just become so much easier.
Yeah.
Which is, I just got that then. I didn't realize. I was like, well, what is that? Why is it easier with that than other things? Like, so sometimes for creating classes and creating clients and stuff, for me doesn't happen so easy. But with the jewelry, it's crazy, like how easy it is. And I've been looking at it the last few days because a whole heap more has just showed up, and I'm just like, okay. And I still haven't been looking at it as a business. And I'm like, that I could actually like just buy and sell jewelry. I'm like, no, I've got to facilitate classes, or I've got to do this. And I'm like, got it the last few days, like, dude, this stuff shows up so easy and there's so much money in it. I'm like, oh, okay. And it's fun for me. Like, I can spend hours and hours and hours like researching it and finding it and stuff. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe I could actually just follow that ease and that joy, and there's glory with it too. So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, cool. Faye, what he was talking about with the ease and the joy and the space of it, I was thinking about you from our call this morning and some of the stuff that showed up for you with the expansion of your business and thinking that it wasn't anything and then realizing that was just a huger space. So do you want to tell people about that?
Yeah, I've just recently come into this space of where everything felt different. And it was very uncomfortable because it was so different. And it was almost like everything went dead, but not dead. And it was, I couldn't get any feeling off of anything. It was like all the emotion and feelings left. And I jumped to a conclusion that that was wrong because it was not what I was used to. And through a group that Sadie and I work with, a coaching group, we realized that that was actually space. And that I had never before realized that how much charge I put in my world, how much I was working from electrical charges is what we call polarity. And polarity are the extremes, the positive, negative, good, bad, right and wrong. And when you remove a charge off of something and take it out of polarity, then you're not energized in the same way. It's a different type of energy, and in Access we call it acoustic energy instead of magnetic. And so once I realized that that was space, that was actually me coming out of polarity, it was like, oh yeah, there is a whole lot more space here, and this is exactly the change I had been asking for. And so if you're finding that you're in a place of creation and then the energy changes on you and it feels weird and strange, don't go labeling it as wrong immediately. And don't try necessarily to change it immediately. To sit with that and go, oh, what space is here that I've never encountered before? And I was having problems pulling joy out of that space because it felt so neutral, which is exactly what it is. It's completely neutral. That's the word, I guess. And I realized that I was defining joy with positive judgment. So back to the polarity, that anything positive was joyful, anything negative was not. And when I realized that, it was like, oh, this is totally different. And it's a peace and calm and harmony, which is also very joyful, that I was not recognizing or acknowledging. So
yeah, we've been talking. I saw a quote from Dr. Dain Heer on Facebook like a week or two ago, and it was something along the lines, I don't have it memorized or pulled up or anything, but it was something along the lines of anything you acknowledge you can take from creation into actualization, but until you've acknowledged it, it's still just kind of in the ethers, you know. And so it's like by acknowledging what you're choosing and what that's creating, then you can actually function from that place. And like what you were saying, Faye, one of the things that I usually tell people even in my bars class is exactly what happened to you when you stepped into that expanded space. I've heard Dain and Gary say so many times, who are the founders of Access Consciousness, I've heard them say, when you step into being something, you don't perceive it anymore because you're being it. And I liken it to, you know, if you were standing in a river on a rock and the water's flowing against your leg, you can feel the pressure of the water rushing against your body. But if you actually step off the rock and just float, you no longer feel the pressure of the water anymore. You just are in it. And so how much of that state of expansion is just being the space of that flow in your life, which is kind of fun and yummy at the same time. So Ryan, what were you going to say? I feel like you were going to jump in there.
I was just enjoying that and just acknowledging a few moments in my life recently where I could step off that rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where we create the resistance, you create that everything feels like it's pushing at you.
Well, my life is flowing so fast that, like, literally just, yeah, even where I'm choosing to live and everything is, like, flowing, like, I really have to just go with it, yeah. Which in this reality, like, it seems like just so out of control, and, yeah.
Yeah. And what's wrong or right have we judged about being out of control? Because most of us want to have that perception that we can control things. And what if that's actually the space of co-creation with the universe that's trying to show us a different possibility, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Faye, tell us about the expansion of your business recently, because I know you've been talking about how since you know, the last few months that things have changed a lot for you. What's been happening, and what do you notice that's different about your capacity showing up that's creating that?
I think a lot of it is just my opening to receive more and not trying so hard. Anytime you find yourself trying to get something, you're not getting it. You might have noticed. You know, we've all gone through
I've never done that.
Never. No, you're lucky.
Oh no, that was full of sarcasm. Don't worry.
I got it. And so I started to, just like Ryan said, I actually love teaching and facilitating. I think I was born to do that. And so I would just go, ooh, I'm going to put on a class. And, oh, I wonder who's going to come play. And, you know, ooh, and it's just like all these oohs, like, ooh, I wonder who might come play. I wonder what magic we might create. I wonder. Instead of, oh, I've got this class, now I need people to come. Okay, who's going to come? And where you make it all serious and heavy and a job and a chore and a struggle. When you make it an invitation of, I'm going to do this, and this is going to be fun, and I wonder who's going to come have fun with me, that energy pulls people to you that from the ethers that you don't know. So you can't even know who's going to come because you don't even know them. And when you can operate from an invitation instead of an outcome, like I must do this, it must be like this, which is going out of control, oh, that's when the magic happens, and it is a lot easier, and it is a lot more fun. We just have to trust ourselves, I think, sometimes to allow it to come. Trust the universe has got our back, and that it'll send people to you. I know I've had instances where I've put on a class, and there's been like 1 or 2 people registered, and it's like 2 days before the class start date. And you're in that place of, do I cancel or do I go ahead? And I started doing this thing about, well, I'm going to do this. I wonder who else is going to show up. And I'll just pull energy towards it, invitation energy. I wonder who else wants to come. And all of a sudden I'll have 6 or 8 people or 10 or 12 people. And it can happen that fast. Mm-hmm. But we make conclusions and decisions about at a certain time or date, if there's not so many registered, then this is what the class will be. And how many conclusions are we making that are working against us?
Yeah, totally. I have a telecall series going on right now, and like the day before we only had 1 person signed up, and then the day of the call we had like 10. So I was like, wow, that can really show up that fast. Who knew you could multiply your attendance by 10 people just in overnight? But how about you, Ryan? You've been on a teaching like extravaganza. Tell us about what you've been doing.
Well, that was how this whole creation call came up, wasn't it? It was you and I just chatting about, yeah, what I'd been creating and stuff. And I gotta recall now what it was. Just, you were asking me how I create, and I really don't know. Like basically just by being in the question, like constantly. Well, everything we actually think is a wrongness actually is normally a strongness. I've been going into the wrongness that I create so different, and so, yeah, I really do go with the flow a lot, and that's how I've been doing it. Just following the energy and staying out of conclusion. The last few classes that I've done have actually been the most interesting, and what I would have went to wrongness before, but just by being space and being in the question turned out far greater than I could ever imagine. Like ended up
give us
having
the details, man.
Yeah, it doesn't, like, I don't really want to, but I will. It's like I did it in Adelaide, and it was a 5-day, and the venue ended up getting cancelled. Like something changed with the people, and I couldn't do it there the day before the class. And as in like a city where I don't know many people, and I'm trying to find a venue, I could use it for 1 day to do the bars class. So I'm busy setting up for a whole bars class for 8 people, teaching the bars class with 8 people, and during that day I've found out that I couldn't use the venue for the next following 4 days. So I didn't get out of there till 7 o'clock at night. Yeah, I know it's a bit of a story, but we're still without a venue. And like after packing up the bars class, I'm like, okay, So, and I just followed the energy. There was this one lady, I'd called everyone in the area about classes and stuff, and all the bars facilitators, and that I didn't know. And one of them said, yeah, would you like to meet tonight? And I'm like, yeah, sounds great. And I'm like, okay, so should I find a venue first, or should I just go and meet this lady for the first time? And it was just really light to go and meet her. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I did. And I was like, maybe she might have some, ideas for a venue and stuff like that. And nothing was really showing up. And I wanted to just enjoy the time meeting her and stuff like that. I couldn't really just get there and say, hey, I need a venue. Can you help me? I wasn't really actually willing to ask that. But I just followed the energy and, contacted all the people. After about seeing her for about an hour, I said, hey, I just got to make a couple phone calls. So I went and I contacted all the people with the class and said, hey, it's been a change with the venue. I'll let you know. But don't stress, we'll find something. None of them even stressed out, which was really weird, which normally I thought they would.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, did they have anything to do with me or them, or doesn't matter. Anyway, I ended up getting a venue at 7:30 in the morning when my class was starting at 9:30. But the whole time was total ease. Like, yeah, all the people that were coming to the class were totally at ease with not knowing until an hour and a half. I told them I'd give them 2 hours notice, like at the most, and I managed to do it with so much ease myself. And I was so impressed with myself that I didn't go into all the funk.
Yeah,
which was pretty cool. And it ended up being stunning. The venue that we got was hosted by someone who cooked us amazing food, and it was in the most gorgeous location, far greater than the first one we had. And I couldn't believe, I was just so shocked that I actually let it go down to the wire of 2 hours before and had total ease with it. And maybe that was just for me to experience that. It was really cool and get out of me having to do everything perfect. I like to have your venues, the first thing you've got to have booked, and then everything like all done like this. And yeah, what if creation can be following the energy like that? Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you've mentioned before how you like to prepare, you like to feel like you're ready to go. And when I met Ryan in the airport, we were on our way to Costa Rica this year for our facilitators class. Ryan had like 6 suitcases full of clothes. And we're going to be there for 5 days, right? So, or 6 days probably for you, but nonetheless, it was not a long trip, and Ryan had all the stuff. It's like, I've got to be prepared. So tell me what that was like, and tell me more about actually what it was like to be in that choice point for creating your reality differently from needing the security that you've always relied on before.
Can you just start with the first question again?
Yeah. So have you yet acknowledged how much choice was required for you to be willing to function that way around these classes?
Oh, wow, I only just could actually hear that then. Awesome. Yeah, okay, so I had to constantly, just every 10 seconds, just keep choosing. I had to keep choosing space. I had to keep choosing space and ease with it all. It was just constantly that choice point, of either choosing to go into some funk about it and conclusion, or space in question. And I I did. I had to really, really, really be present with it. It was cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Faye, I know that you just did a bars booth at some kind of a fair. I did this last Saturday. I did a booth at the Spokane Holistic Festival, and it was awesome. I had like 5 people come up and say, I don't know who you are, but I felt you from across the room when I walked into the building. And so, I mean, cool, great. And what is Access offering people that people automatically know something's different about it? I'd have people walking by and they'd be kind of trucking along and they'd like turn and look at my booth and look at my signs, and it was obvious that people were really interested in what was occurring in my little 8x8 cubicle section there that day. And so, but the interesting thing was the gal that was across from me was from some chiropractic office, and she was doing these body scans for all these different things, markers wrong in your body, yada yada. And she did my scan, and there was some physical stuff that she was like, oh, you need a probiotic and you need this and that. No, I read the note. Sorry, kids just walked in the door from school.
It happens.
Get out of there. I left a note on the door handle. Like, you can't get in here. You can't go in the kitchen when I get. Um, so, go. Sorry.
No problem.
The 6-year-old can't read the 8-page note that I wrote. Do not go in the kitchen. Okay, into your bedroom. There's a snack on your bed. Go eat and go have a good time. Okay, so about the booth and the choice. So what she was stunned about when she ran the scan, she's like, "You're the only person I've ever seen and of all the scans I've done that didn't have all these markers for stress." And it was actually this external thing that invited me to acknowledge how much I don't buy into the stress, like you were saying, Ryan. I just rolled with it and I let it be ease and I asked questions and I let it unfold. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool, because it's really easy to buy into your own stress sometimes and think you're stressed out. But I was like, how much less stress have I actually been doing than most people do? And if I could acknowledge that, then it's like, cool. Faye, what was your booth like that day? You had a pretty successful booth. Tell us about that.
Oh yeah, well, I wasn't doing just bars. I was doing coaching and intuitive readings and other things. And it's interesting, when you were talking, you were giving Access Consciousness all the credit. But it's really, when you're doing an expo, it's the energy that you be. So Sadie, would you acknowledge the energy that an invitation you are being to all of those people there? Yeah, and that's really what it is. And yes, Access gives us the tools to be an invitation and to really be ourselves. And people are drawn to that like moths to a flame. It's crazy when you give people permission to be themselves by you being yourself. They want to know about that. What is that about? I often have people sit down for a reading or for a consultation or something, and they're like, I just needed to come to you. I don't know why. And I'm like, okay, let's find out why, you know? And I just have a jet going overhead. I don't know if you can hear that. It's really loud. Okay, it's gone.
I couldn't hear it.
Oh, okay. Well, I could. It was really loud. So yeah, would you be willing to acknowledge that all of that was you, not Access?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also acknowledging that the tools that allowed me to be that, the path that I took to get to that space of being me was the tools of Access. And that's actually, I just wanted to hit on that, because that's what we're all offering. Is when we talk about whatever we're talking about on this show, we're really talking about the space of the creation that you are for your own life to create who you are.
Giving them the space. Yeah.
This is my 3-year-old. Say hi. You got to take the iPad in the other room. Get yourself a bar. Get yourself a bar. Self-sufficient 3-year-old that knows how to get to all the snacks in the cupboard. Okay. So Faye, go ahead.
I think that I've done a lot of expos, and I've seen many people working their booths, and I've had times when I've not been busy and watched other people be busy and go, why is that? And I've had times where I am so busy and other people just don't get any action at all at their booth. And I really do think it comes down to the energy that you be, and are you willing to be a contribution, whatever that is, to the people who are there. And when you do that, they will come. If you go in, just like with any other business venture, whether it's sales or trying to fill classes or whatever it is, if you are trying to get them to come to you, if you are trying to get them to buy from you, they are repelled by that. Yeah. You must be an invitation. It's like, who wants to come play with me? I know some stuff. Who wants to come play with me? You know, that kind of invitation. Who might want a reading from me? Who might be interested in what I have to offer? I wonder. And how much fun might we have together? And when you're operating from that space, magic can happen. And it does happen. I've noticed, you know, every expo I go to, it's just, you know, miracle after miracle, it seems. So, yeah, what fun is that? And so it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you approach it with that invitation of how much fun is this going to be, that will attract all the fun that you're asking for.
Yeah. Well, and it's like you said earlier, how you being willing to be the space of fun in your business is actually what creates people in your business. And Ryan, like you were saying, how you know, you being willing to have fun with the jewelry has actually created it with being total ease for you and showing up. So, yeah. So I had some more questions, and now my mind is. Anybody else want to throw something out there?
So, what is the energy of creation?
Yeah. Well, I actually have, so like I said at the beginning of this hangout, for me, a lot of what's been showing up is just realizing that creation is actually you being in play and interaction with sort of the universe and the things in the universe that are actually desiring to show up in physical reality. And it's like, you know, this is so funny because so many people say, I had this idea and then someone else stole it. So is that idea actually ever yours? Like, is the creation your possession, or is it just that you didn't choose it and so it went and found someone else because it was its own energy that was desiring to show up in physical reality? And maybe it would have preferred you and maybe it wouldn't. And maybe just you even bringing the idea into existence, that was all that required your input for, and then it ran with somebody else to actually become physical reality. So it's like, how much is going on with creation that we're not acknowledging, and how much are we not acknowledging the brilliance of even being the person that can pull out the idea, even if somebody else is the one that ends up bringing it to fruition. You know, I've been looking at that a lot lately, even with like the creation of the book that I have coming out next week. It's been such a fun process along the way, but any one of us that did the Google Hangout together could have created that book. And it just happened to be me that I was the one that it seemed like all the things had aligned to get to the point that when it showed up in my knocking on my awareness, that I went, yes, I'm having you, and I took it to the end point, you know, or not the end, but just was willing to play with it. But I've really realized that creation is like a dance with the universe. It's like a waltz, and it's like the energy of whatever entity it is you're desiring to create, whether it be a class or even a meal, or, you know, in this case, a book, or Ryan having your jewelry business, or Faye having people seek you out at the expo, whatever that creation is, it's like, it's this energy, and you start to kind of, you give a little bit of you, and you say, what do you desire from me? What can I contribute? And then it becomes more of who it is, and it shows up in gifts to you, more of who it is. And it's like this back and forth of like this very fluid kind of woo, back and forth as you kind of dance together, you know? But it's not like you own your creations. It's not like your creations own you. It's this willingness to lower your barriers and receive the energy of what's showing up so that you can gift to it too, so that whatever you're creating together, you with the energy of what you're trying to bring into physical reality can actually show up here, right? Either of you want to expand on that?
Yeah, and I want to add to that, actually. I want to add that, you know, your book example is you somewhere along the line made a choice, like, yeah, I'm having that, I'm going to bring that into actualization, and it is the choice point that truly I believe is the creation. I think we're in creative energy 24/7.
Yeah.
And it's when we decide to choose something that's when it really starts to take off and grow and become whatever it is to become.
You need to have Zoe help you, honey. Yep. I have to take a small, quick break to actually take a 3-year-old to the bathroom.
I'll keep.
You guys keep chatting. I'll be right back. Okay.
And you know how in Access we're always talking about how choice trumps everything. Choice trumps clearing. Choice trumps everything, because the moment you choose, that's when the magic starts to happen. And at some point, Ryan, I'm sure you can, if you went back, you could probably see, yeah, I chose to engage with the jewelry business. I chose to teach a class. And everywhere you were sort of just, everywhere we sit on the fence is, oh, I'll do it if it wants to do it with me. I'll do it if the people show up, and then the people never show up. It's because you haven't really chosen it. You're waiting for it to choose you. That's not really how creation works, is it? You have to choose.
And with that as well, I noticed for myself, I definitely have to do the 10 seconds and just continually choose it, because all that stuff comes up of, like whether it might be doubt or whether it might be like, is this really supposed to happen? Are we really supposed to do this, rather than just choosing it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Choice is so powerful. And what I've noticed in my world is the moment I make a choice to do something, the universe really does conspire to make it happen. Unless I've created a back door, or I'm just sitting on the fence and haven't really chosen, and then it just sits on the fence with me. I know last year I did a major trip to Israel, which is with a friend, 17 days in Israel. And the moment that I chose to do that trip, I just knew I wanted to go there. And the moment that I chose to go, it was like money started flying at me left and right. The people and the things that I needed to create the itinerary just fell in my lap. It all just fell into place. And that's what happens when you choose. It will all fall into place because you're choosing it to happen. And understand that us doubting is a choice. We choose to doubt ourselves. And the moment you choose to doubt yourself, the universe will conspire to create more instances so you can doubt yourself some more. It's beautiful that way. It's so giving, no matter what we ask for.
Yeah.
Well, and I wanted to add one thing to what you were saying, Faye, because when we do make the original choice, where kind of we go from that not being in our universe to suddenly going, I'm having this and I don't care how it shows up. But it's not actually just one choice. It's the choice along the way, even when resistance comes up, or even when something shows up that you think is going to make it not happen. You go, then you, instead of actually deciding to just quit, you go to question instead of quitting. And so actually it's not, there is the source point that is like the origination of it, but it's that living in 10 seconds with the creation of it, of what's required next and what's required next, and not letting yourself be in conclusion, like Ryan was saying in the beginning about, you know, just being in question all the time, like what do I want to create, and following the energy and where to go, and actually being willing to continue to ask questions along the way. Because with the creation of my first book, it would have been so easy to quit so many times, because it was like I went through this real lull where I only had like 3 people that wanted to write in it, and then it was like it picked back up again, and then it would diverge, and it went from being like 3 separate books to 1 book to 2 books, and it was, if I hadn't been willing to ask the questions of what was required to create it, then I would have probably quit a long time ago. And I can say the person I was 10 years ago would have for sure quit, because I've changed so much since then, and I have the tools that actually have allowed me to be in that creative process instead of being in conclusion about everything that I'm creating.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Ryan?
I was just, I think you answered it in that anyway. I was just looking at what is the difference between following the energy and then also forcing something that you've just chose, rather than choices. So choices, the difference is choice is only 10 seconds, whereas when you've decided on something, that's what I'm deciding to create, rather than choosing to create and then following the energy. What is the difference there between? Well, I suppose it is just being in question, isn't it? Like, so like maybe your last book, it wasn't the time for it right now. Yeah, I was just looking for more clarity on that.
Well, and even with this first book, it went through a lull, and it was like, so just as the background information, just to give context to the situation, when I looked at creating the book, I started to get the awareness of all these people I knew from other modalities besides Access who really had beautiful things to contribute. And I had the conclusion that I didn't want it to just be Access. I wanted it to be these different ways of looking at fertility, conception, pregnancy, and birth. It didn't necessarily have to be just Access. Might be, you know, I had EFT friends and other friends, but the interesting thing is when I'd start to ask them, nobody was interested. And then a bunch of the people from Access that were interested in it found out that I was asking other people and then didn't want to be in it because it wasn't just an Access book. So then I actually had to ask the questions, not just because of what the people were choosing, but ask the book. What do you desire? And actually be in creation with the book. And I really got that the energy of the book was a lot more coherent around this particular set of tools rather than pulling from all over the place. Not to say that there was anything wrong with that. Had that been the energy, I would have let those Access people go and chosen to go the other way. But there just was these sticking points that I was like, something is not clear in the energy of this. So what is this? And so then it was bringing the dialogue back around to actually talking to that creation. What do you require? Because I was really starting to get a sense that the energy of the book isn't just the sum of the 15 people that have written chapters for it. It actually was a separate consciousness. And so it was this dialogue with it in the play, you know.
Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, your creations actually talk to you.
Yes. And they talk to you too, and they talk to everybody who's watching. They talk to you too. If you're looking at creating something, you just have to. I have realized part of it is just being willing to lower your barriers and receive what it's telling you, because a lot of the times, unfortunately, what it's telling you is not what you thought. So we can't receive it sometimes because when it's not aligning with our point of view, we tend to think that we don't hear. And it's more like just because we're not willing to actually receive whatever the creation is telling us. And when I say telling you, I don't necessarily mean like there's a voice, a little book like flapping its pages speaking in my ear, right? It's like this just general energy, a sense of it. It's that light and heavy is really helpful in playing with your creations, because it isn't going to have necessarily always like a super loud voice. It's going to be like whispers of, oh, that's expansive.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
There's so many different ways to communicate. What if we talk about communicating with a creation? So like for you, you say you get like you get light and heavy and little whispers and stuff. I've had other times where I get like awareness, just like light bulb moments. It's like it's like, oh wow, and it just constantly expands. And the more I let my head get out of the way and just relax into it and just actually communicate with it, like just like in the playful curiosity of a child, like, okay, what is this? It's usually so much bigger than what I narrow-mindedly could have ever like thought it would be.
Yeah.
Or so different to what my points of view might be, or what I've concluded, or yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, it's amazing to stay in the question and keep asking it questions and stuff.
Yeah, I had an awareness with this book in the beginning that it was actually, in addition to actually becoming a physical book that could go out and people could read it and get the energy from what was contained in the book, the energy of the book itself was desiring to facilitate each and every person that I even talked to about potentially writing a chapter in it, even if they weren't somebody who ended up choosing it. And the cool part was it was almost like the book was saying, I'll be this catalyst for them to look at their own self-judgment if they're choosing it because they don't think they can do it, or they don't think they have anything to say, or they don't think that they're a good enough writer, or whatever it brought up for them. It was like the energy of the book was saying, let me be the catalyst for this person. And it was like, just in creating it, I actually became very aware. It was like I could get the download of that person's whole universe, and all their excuses and everything that they were using against themselves to not choose it. And in the book, and I would be like, gosh, this person would be such a great contribution. Why aren't they choosing this? And it was literally like the book was saying, I don't know, it's fine. It's bringing their stuff up for them to look at, and that's great, and that's all I desired anyway. It didn't have an attachment to who chooses it and who doesn't, which was very cool. And what if our bodies are like that? What if all of our creations, besides our own minds, have that impersonal willingness to be a contribution to us and to the people involved? It's like, what if your body is so impersonal? I was talking with someone last week, and it's like, your body is a sensory awareness unit. So it's like, it's no different than when you're on a road trip and you're driving down the highway and you have your radio station turned to a station, and when you leave a city, it kind of goes and it breaks up, and then it's static for a while, and then as you get closer to another city, if that city has that station, then you'll tune in another station. And then it's like, what if our bodies are that aware and that impersonal that they just show us whatever they're reading from wherever? It's like they're these. So what if our creations are like that too? It's like they're that impersonal that they'll just give us information if we're willing to not have a point of view and receive it just as it's showing us.
Yeah.
Faye, were you going to say something?
I'm just kind of like, wow, that's great. Like, so I'm wondering, do our creations have a point of view?
Well, it depends on how you look at point of view. To me, this is just my personal awareness, I wouldn't say for me that I notice that they have a point of view in the sense that it's a judgment, like a right or wrong, good or bad. But there is what I have noticed with stuff that I've created or my body even, they tend to have a preference and a target. And I've even heard Gary Douglas say, he'll say, I don't like or dislike certain things, but I don't really want to eat blueberries. It's not something that I prefer, but I prefer something else that is more pleasurable to my body. Same thing like when we ask our body what clothes it would like to wear. If it likes to look a certain way, it's not to say that it has a judgment against something that doesn't look as nice, but it doesn't make it feel as good either. So it's a choice to what is expansive rather than less expansive, without getting into the qualification of right or wrong, good or bad.
Right. So again, it's more following that expansive energy. Follow the energy, follow the energy. One thing that I noticed recently that I do occasionally, maybe a little more than occasionally, is I'll get the whole energy of something and I'll feel the heaviness, I'll feel the solidity of a part of it, and I'll directly go to that instead of following the lightness. I'm trying to make the heavy light often. And I just have this big epiphany. Oh my God, there I am, you know, trying to make the heavy light. Instead of judging the heavy as needing to change, just recognize, no, that's the heavy path. And this is the light path, and I have a choice. Where do I follow? Where do I go? And it's like that is what choosing ease is for me. It's like that is making it easy on you, because you can pick at a rock and whittle it down until it's like just a little bit of stones, which takes a long time and a lot of effort. Or you can just go, oh, there's a big rock there. Okay, there's no rocks over here. Let's go this way. Yeah. And I know it sounds so obvious, and I should have gotten that, you know, ages ago. But it's funny when you're in it and you're picking at the rock again, and you realize, oh, I don't need to do this anymore. What would be easier? Yeah. And I think a lot of times in this reality, we make it right to try and change the struggle, to try and change the heavy into light. And again, that just creates more struggle and more judgment because you've made it right. And
well,
so
how many cultural adages about how, you know, something isn't worth it unless you've worked at it, and how you have to work hard. Like even my friend's daughter used to say when her husband was Daddy working hard for the money. And so it's like, how much do we have that point of view that everything that's worth something is struggle to get to? So it's like, until we really can totally energetically take that vibrational virtual reality out of the creation of what we create, we're still going to buy into it to some extent, or we're going to rebel against it, in which case recreate it anyway. So,
yeah.
Ryan, what were you going to say there?
Just having a little light bulb moments. Yeah, just about, yeah. So just stepping out of this vibrational virtual reality, or just leaving it out of the energy, space, and consciousness that we be with creation. I find that shows up quite a bit in my world. Yeah. All the limitations and all the stuff like that. Only when I'm trying to force stuff into existence. When I follow what's actually really, really light and expansive for me, I'm so joyful that none of that stuff's even there.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, okay.
And that's like you were saying, Faye, earlier, it's like you be that space of wonder and possibility and joy with getting clients and with expos and with whatever it may be for your business. So, yeah, what if creation is like a game? Yesterday on my radio show, we had a caller call in, and she was asking a very similar question about, you know, what is it like to, because I said something to her about, what if you just played with it like it was a game? She's like, what do you mean by that? And really what showed up was, how significant do we make everything that we create? It's like we decide to create a class, and like you were saying, Faye, you immediately go into how many people do I need, and how much money am I going to make, and how much is this going to cost? And it's like we go into the denser version of it instead of asking some questions around it. And she was saying, so how do you play with it as a game? And I was like, what if you started with something that was really light? One of the people that's actually writing in the second book, the Possibilities in Parenting book, she actually did this brilliant thing that I'll share. Her chapter was about teaching her kids about light and heavy, and she would take her kids out in the car, and they'd just go on a drive for light and heavy, and they'd say, should we turn this way or this way? Which one's light? And they'd follow the light one. And she said they found like this beach that they didn't know existed in their hometown, and this little cafe that had this great lunch, and all these different fun things would show up when they just went and played this game. Like, what if we could play with it like it was a game and just follow the energy of the lightness like everything was a game? And if it wasn't significant, if we didn't have to worry about how many dollars we're going to make or how many bills we're going to pay with that check or whatever it may be, could it show up with so much greater ease? Ryan, will you talk more about creating some of the jewelry that's showed up in your life? Because you really be that space of just question, invitation, and lust and tug and.
Okay, so I'm just looking at it literally like right now as I do it. As soon as I start looking at it, like literally like looking at the physical jewelry, even if it's online or where it's in person, or even if I think about it, it just makes me just come so alive. Like literally I'm just like so turned on and joyful. I'm fascinated by it, and so I'm literally just going to explore this like right now. It creates such a demand in my universe. I'm just like, ha ha, I want that. And want not from lack, want from desire or demand. Like, I think demand comes in afterwards. First it's just desire, like, I want that. And then it's like, what's it going to take to have that? Like, that's just energetically what's going on. I just start pulling it. Like, I just get so excited about it. I'm just like, pull it into my universe. And even if I don't have the money to get it, sometimes just the ideas just flood to me. Like, I've just bought a whole heap. I bought 4 more pieces the other day, and then I found like another 4 pieces yesterday. And I don't have the extra money to get them all. And then just, I'm like so excited that I get so joyful that my brain goes into a level of question. And just
yeah.
like,
and
okay,
how different is that?
where, how?
Yeah. Because think about what most people do when they think about something that they would like to use money to buy. Like, money is a source for some forms of creation. And how much do we do about when we look at money, even though sometimes it's a little bit of the desire, it's immediately paired with the lack. I can't have it, I don't have it. And instead, for you, what you're really saying, and that I'm hearing anyway, is like, you go into what's possible for me to create this showing up in my life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, do you ask specific questions, or is this just a space you're being? And if you could tap into that space you're being, what is the best way you could translate that for people who are watching so they could get a sense of it?
So that's what I was doing just before.
Yeah.
Whereas
you did a great
usually
job,
with anything else, with anything else, I usually go to the question. So if you look at it, like, one thing I heard Carrie Glussell say it years ago, that like when she grew up, it wasn't like I can't have this. It was like, who do I need to speak to? So it was similar to that, but like if I actually tap into the energy of me, which is what I was doing before, it was just like, I'd have to do it again. Like, what else is possible? Like, yeah, it was kind of like, who do I need to speak to? What else can I do? Like, how else can I have it? Like, all these, it's just, I think it's just I get so excited and in that joy that it's just a multiplicity of questions just at once, just like, wow, how can I have it? Like, literally like a kid running around, like, with so many possibilities. And then there's the ideas just start popping of what one's actually more possible than other ones. Like, yeah.
Well, I can feel it in my body when you talk about it. I can perceive how when you tap into something that you desire, I can feel my body going, like pulling that direction. So there's obviously
that's what happens with that's what the jewelry obviously does. It's just like, okay, I want to come to you. I'm just getting like more and more and more, like, just now as we talk about this, like, what if we do actually follow that stuff that's actually so joyful and easy for us? I never would have thought it was jewelry. Like, you guys know, because we talked about it so much in Costa Rica, but I only found that jewelry like 4 weeks before I came. I didn't know hardly anything about jewelry. Even the last probably 5 days when I bought these other 4 pieces, and I've been looking at about another 8. And I didn't know a whole lot about them. I know they kind of look cool, but I'm like, are they worth any? How much are they worth roughly? And are they a bargain? And all this kind of stuff. And the difference between qualities and all kinds of things. And I've just been researching, and I've got endless energy to do it. 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm just there like wide awake, just researching and so excited, and from one thing to the next, like ADD kid. Just, it's totally effortless. And I'm just starting to get that if I actually follow that more, my whole life could actually show up a lot easier, rather than me just conclude, I can't do a jewelry business, or all the different, different conclusions and maybe vibrational virtual realities popping up in my world of I can't do this, or no one's going to buy it, or this or this. If I was just to trust in it and trust myself and what I know, and just keep playing in that energy. Even if I do lose everything, who cares?
Yeah.
Try again. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love it so much. Faye, what were you going to add there?
Oh, I just love Ryan's energy.
I know, so much enthusiasm.
But there's something about you, Ryan. Correct me if I'm wrong here. You had, on some level, have decided to choose wealth because you're correct? Because you're dealing with jewelry, and you're not. I've seen your stuff. Like, you're not dealing with costume jewelry. You're dealing with real, valuable items. And so, could you speak a little bit about that, about the choice to have wealth and valuable items and value, and there's something of that in there, I think. Okay. Or am I wrong? Am I totally off base?
No, totally not. But for me, it's just putting stuff into words can be quite a challenge, because it's so expansive and so huge and so beyond this reality. And I function in space so much greater than I function in this reality. So I really need to play with that more so as I can share it with everyone. Mm-hmm. Functioning from space is 1,000 times easier for me than to function, with words and stuff, which it probably is for all of us.
So is space wealth? Is space wealth then?
Far out. Well, yeah, it's a wealth of possibilities.
And it really opens things up, right?
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, and how many of us close off our worlds in order, for whatever reasons we close them off, and therefore we don't have that space of wealth, or wealth of space, or whatever it is.
That space is you. That space and wealth is you.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, and that's what I was saying, you guys. If you saw the description that I put for this hangout, it was like, are things seeming to get weirder? And has what you've defined as something being weirder actually weird you are starting to show up. And now that you're becoming more aware of how different that is from everything you ever thought you were, what else is possible to create now with that difference that you be? So like Ryan with you, just recognizing the space you be, and then that energy of joy combined with demand, how powerfully and quickly and easily that empowers you to create whatever it is you choose, right?
Yeah, the ideas, so just the last 3 days, the ideas I've had to create money and have money show up when I've been in that space of doing what I enjoy, which has been playing with the jewelry. The space and the ideas have been so huge that it's just blown me away. I'm just like, oh, and how easy money can show up. Because like I've concluded that I have to, because I'm an access facilitator, I have to keep doing classes and I have to do this and this and this. And I wasn't looking at all these other different possibilities that I can also have in my life also. I was looking at that as the primary one, rather than actually just following the energy, because the energy seems so weird. But the last 5 days, I got to a point where my life was pretty much so uncomfortable that I just had to start doing what was joyful for me again, which was looking at the jewelry. And when I did it, the ideas of how to create more money and create that as a business just got so huge, so expansive, and so easy, it was unbelievable.
Keep talking. We lost your video there, Ryan, but...
Yeah, my battery, I'm just using my phone. I might just have to do some modifications here.
That's all right. We're coming down the home stretch anyway. Faye,
No,
so...
that's cool. I'm just wondering whether to use because I'm on my phone, whether I use my Mac or my car to charge my...
Just stay here with us, whatever you're on, because it's working for now.
Yeah, so, we're on. Cool.
Yep, we're on. So, Faye, what kind of... what takeaway do you have from sort of what we talked about, combined with maybe something else that you just have an awareness of, would we kind of chat with about in these last few minutes, bringing the end of our call together?
Oh, for me, really is to allow for space and to allow for expansion and to follow the lightness or the easiest and keep asking, okay, what's easiest here? What's easiest here? Or what's the most fun here? That's a question that works for me a lot. And each person will have their own thing, what's most joyful, what's easiest, what's more fun, pick your word that gives you the most, jazz or whatever that really jazzes you up. And to keep going with that and to know that we can create easily. I think that when we get out of the notion that it has to be hard or it is hard, and we allow ourselves the possibility that it doesn't have to be that way, that it could be so easy and joyful, much more so than we've ever allowed, that's what I'm going to carry out of this and go play with, I think.
Yeah. How about you, Ryan? You've actually given us some beautiful little peeks into the creating from joy, but did you have anything you wanted to add to
it? Willingness to lose everything. I've done it that many times in my life. Lost everything, or been willing to lose everything to pursue what I was looking for, which has got me to where I am now. Because I just got stumped with because anyway, just for like the story's sake of it, in this lifetime I didn't have this reality. I haven't grown up with money. I haven't started with money. So if I had a lot of money, things probably could have been easier. But I had to give up and let go of a whole lot of things and actually choose to go without a whole lot of things to actually choose what I knew was possible, which was eventually finding the tools of access. And I've just got it again this week with what I'd like to create. Like I was caught up on not letting go of a few things, which really stuck myself. And as soon as I looked at, okay, I'm willing to give that up. I'm willing to give all of this up for my happiness, because I was holding on to it. So I actually, I won't beat around the bush. I actually look at the story. I was at a point where I wasn't happy where I am and what I was doing, to the point where I'm like, no, I'm willing to give up everything to change it, whatever it takes. Even if I did have no money or nothing to sell at the moment, I would just start walking if I had nothing, and walk in a direction of somewhere that was lighter, and just go. And like you were talking about before, Sadie, with like just jumping in the car and following the energy and the magic and not worry about the money. And so this is probably amazing stuff, which I get to quite often, is we worry about the money and about okay, if I don't have the money to pay the bills and to do this and do that. I literally have gone without a house 4 times to actually keep following and literally do what I'm talking about, which is basically...
Oh, Brian,
pardon?
Oh, you were lost for just a second.
I missed what you said.
You cut out for a second. So you said right when you were going to tell us what you'd done, then like you're ready to walk, and then you cut out.
I literally will walk, because I may be sitting in a car at the moment.
There he goes again.
There he goes again. Okay. Okay, if Ryan pops back on, I'll highlight him again there. But yeah, so for me too, the takeaway really with all this talk about creation, both in this call with you guys and then yes, in the direction. What I was going to say is actually the takeaway for me is being willing to not have expectations or be in conclusion? And what if creation can show up greater than anything you ever decided? And where have we all bastardized this idea of demand and this idea of desire with conclusion? And where are we not actually following the idea that maybe joy is the basis of demand? And so what would it be like if we played with our creations that way? What brings us the most joy? And then in that case, that creates that fervor of demand like Ryan was talking about with the jewelry. So, all right. Come down to the count of our 1 hour live Google Hangout. Thank you, Faye. Ryan, we'll sign off with your your still frame shot there. Thank you guys for watching, and you can find us on Facebook. Faye, do you want to talk about how people can find you?
Sure. My website is faythompson.com, FAYTHOMPSON.com, and I'm on Facebook as well. Just type in my name. I think it's Faye Thompson 8 is the actual email address. So come check me out.
Awesome. Brian, are you there in voice?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. How do people find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Ryan Telford, or my website, ryantelford.com, or Access Consciousness website, which is www.accessconsciousness Ryan Telford, I think. I'm not sure. Search the Access site.
Probably your name first, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Faye, I'm assuming, do you have an Access site too?
I do. So I'm on. You can do a search for me on accessconsciousness.com as well.
Cool. And same with everybody else. I have my radio show on A2, the number 2, zen.fm. That's a show that broadcasts live every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific, and you can find me there. Our show is called Imperfect Brilliance. I do that with another CF, Betsy McLaughlin. We have a great time talking about some crazy stuff, usually pretty irreverent. We like to laugh. So that's a fun way to find me. There's archives of all the previous shows. You can find me on Facebook as Sadie Lake, Facilitator, Educator, Catalyst. It's under my name here. And then again, the Access Consciousness site, sadielake.accessconsciousness.com. And we're, for any of the three of us or anybody else from Access that you might want to look up, you can find a little bio and classes and anything, activities they have going on there. So let us know if you guys have questions. You can post questions in the comment section under this video, and we can respond there too. So we hope to connect with all of you. Hope it was an inspiration. It was for me, and we'll see you guys. Hopefully we'll do it again sometime.
Yeah.
Yes, let's do it.
All right. Bye, everybody.